Looking back at the history of the half-shell heroes, here's your look at the brand new NECA toys, Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first Turtles. Impress your friends with this historic set of NECA action figures. We are celebrating 40 years of Turtle power with these 7-inch action figures based on the original drawings that started it all, from TMNT co-creators Eastman and Laird. This radical action figure 2-pack includes extra hands, extra heads, and all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' signature weapons. Comes in a collector-friendly packaging with original box art by Kevin Eastman and celebrating slipcover featuring a lenticular art card. Opening up the old Turtle time capsule, just before, of course, we get a closer look at the new NECA 40th anniversary, the first Turtles. I'd like to thank the folks over at NECA that were kind enough to provide this sample. Originally, this was a 2024 con exclusive. A pre-order, though, was available at one point on their site for $69.99. By no surprise at all, it has unfortunately sold out, but you can select the option Notify Me when available, and they'll let you know when stock comes back. We're going to start with the bigger of the two. This larger turtle is going to stand at about 5.5 inches in height, or he's going to be about 14 centimeters tall. Then to the smaller of the two, this turtle is going to then be standing at 5 inches in height. And flip that around to centimeters, you're looking at 13 centimeters tall. Speaking of time capsules, why don't we bring in one of the earliest NECA Ninja Turtles? This one happened to be based on the original Mirage comics. NECA had done 2 different versions of these guys, one being all color, so obviously the 4 brothers would have red headbands. It's really only just by their weapons alone that you would know one brother to the other. This happens to be Leonardo. They had also done a run of black and white turtles. Would love to have got my hands on those, but they're going for some crazy money nowadays. Just as though a side note, I don't know if NECA does have the rights still to those original molds, but I would love to see them do re-releases of them. From the standpoint of what they look like from Turtles, you would probably say that maybe the newer sketch designs are kind of more cruder in designs. They look a little less like Turtles, maybe not as much as the ones we get from Mirage. Now, maybe your first introduction to the Turtles may have been from the cartoon, so I wanted to bring at least in a cartoon turtle. Again, here's Leonardo. I don't know why seem to be bookending both of them with Leonardos. Leonardo, though, is going to stand almost about the same size as the smaller. He's a little bit, though, shorter as the bigger and bulkier one. Maybe perhaps your first introduction was the 90s movie. Well, then, we can also bring one that we also got from NECA. Here's what the figures look like with Michelangelo. I guess really while we're also talking about turtle history, bringing in the box that contains the 2 first turtles. One thing I really like is this lenticular card that they got on the front. Well, again, on the back, this is basically what it would look like. Or I guess that would maybe be the front. You've got a sketched image, the 2 different takes on the turtles. But then if you flip it around to the other side, this is the thing that's got me the most interested. It's a lenticular card, and I don't know if you can see, it goes from black and white to color. Now, I don't know if this is something that's removable. I was kind of peeling the corners, and I feel like it's fully attached. I would honestly really like to be able to take this off, and there might be a way to do it without maybe damaging the box, because I would love really to have this off and perhaps even hanging it as it is, or maybe even possibly framed. Very cool box. Let's move that, though, out of the way, and let's look at all the accessories that come include the Turtles. We get quite spoiled with, I feel, this release. Now, being that they are, of course, red headbands, you would then decide for yourself which turtle they're going to be based on really all of their accessories. You want to have Leonardo, obviously you're going to have them displayed with katanas. If you want to have them as Michelangelo, you get the idea. I suppose nothing that really is necessarily specifying a turtle. One of the accessories included with them is a tonfa. Tonfas are going to start the trend here of a brown plastic that's all got this additional panel lining in it, so it kind of makes it look like wood. Now, I've already taken the liberty of removing the hands. Technically, when you get them out of the packaging, they have pairs of relaxed hands, which the hands themselves are fantastic. Panel lining is just adorned on all of these figures from top to bottom, and even like the hands themselves get them as well. The hands were simply just a case of removing them. I mean, obviously, you already know. I mean, if you're looking at the peg and you're looking at the form, you already can kind of gauge for yourself how these would have been removed. Just pop them off the forearms and replace them with these instead. From what I've seen, at least, and I've already experienced this, all of the weapons can be wielded with either one of these. With the grip that they've been assigned, even though one's got larger hands, one's got smaller hands, the grip is exactly the same. So it doesn't have to be the case where katanas can only go to the bigger boy. You can really have them displayed with any of the turtles. Okay. So what do we got here? Okay, we've also got a pair of smaller relaxed hands, which again would have been originally on this turtle. I just removed them. You want to see what it looks like? Okay. just take the hand and you just want to wiggle it off the provided post. There we go. So I basically would have popped that off. This is what the hand would have started with. Yeah, okay, got it. Good. Okay, pop that back in place. Probably will just end up leaving the hands gripping just so that I can actually then change around the hands if I wanted to. Let's start maybe with Michelangelo's accessories, only simply just because there's two variations of the nunchuck. For starters, you get yourself a loose variety of nunchuck that actually have connecting chains. You got one end of the village, the other end, and then of course a connecting bridge. The bridge itself is actually using real metal links. Really nice touch. So he gets he gets a pair of those. Then the figure also comes included with a spinning version of the nunchuck. Now the nunchuck does also have a hinge right here, so you can bend it up, you can bend it straight, you can bend it down. And of course that also spins as well. Some really cool looking details going. Gives you at least the idea, suggested idea that it looks like it's spinning. I suppose they probably could have made this all translucent plastic as we've gotten before, but I think it lends better to the idea that this was a drawn image of it, that they probably would have even just drawn multiple looking, like the batons, I suppose, of the nunchuck. So it looks like it's deliberately looking like this. So it's pretty cool. Here's where one thing that's rather interesting with the turtles, you may notice right away that neither of them have belt or weapon storage. If you're looking at the front of them or you're looking at the back of them, it really won't matter. There's no place to store the weapons. So what they ended up doing when they first were designing the turtles is that they stored the nunchuck on their wrists. You get two variations of that. So you get one that's for the smaller turtle and one for the bigger turtle. And you'll know the difference between the two because the larger nunchuck does have the chain that's going to go to the larger turtle. The bigger man has the bigger pork chop. Goes this one. That's an SCTV reference. I don't know how many of you guys will actually get that. There's a little, as you can see, clip on the side. So like, for example, if you're looking at the turtle here, looking at the side here, there's a little indent. See the little slot right there? Okay, so what you'll do is you'll take the nunchuck and it'll just slot up the side. Now, this would only really make sense if you want to have the figure displayed without weapons. I suppose, like, if he's going to be wielding nunchuck, then it probably doesn't make any sense then at all that you're going to have then nunchucks. Let me just make sure I got this lined up here. Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense that you're probably going to have the nunchuck displayed on their wrists if obviously they're going to be holding them in their hands as well. So that's with the bigger guy. Doing it then with the smaller one, he has also, and now again with this one, you have to kind of bring the arms down, or bring the hands down. See right there? Probably can see it. There's a little slot, and that just fits up. I find actually of the two, the smaller one is a little harder to do. You really want to make sure like the hand is down as far as you can get it, just so that it clears enough of a path that you can get the nunchuck slid up there. I don't know how often I'm really going to want to do this, just because the nature of the peg. I mean, like, it's a pretty thick enough looking clip, but still I worry, though, like, you know, you really would hate to have that break on you. Again, that just slides up right in there. Technically, really, they came out of the packaging with the nunchuck already attached onto their arms. So really, if you had no plans at all to remove them, you just leave them on. Leave them on. The figures also come, of course, included with a bow staff. So if you want to have the figure displayed as Donatello, you can certainly do that. All of the weapons, by the way, again, are universal. So it doesn't matter whether you use it for the smaller one or use it for the bigger one. You can use it for both. The figures also come included with a pair of sai. The sai also match the colors to what they've done on the ends of the nunchuck. They also happen to match the same blaze, though, for the katanas. And again, really nice, really nicely detailed. Again, if you wanted to, you can fit them into their hands. I know already I sound like a broken record for saying this, but they just fit into his hands. The one thing about it, though, is that the hands at least are softer plastic. So you may look at this and think to yourself, there's no way I'm going to be able to properly fit that in his grip. No, you can. No, you will. There you go. And then, of course, last, rounding up the rest of it, you get yourself the pair of katanas. Again, no weapon storage at all on these guys, so it's either going to be displaying in their hands or you're likely probably just going to be putting them back in the tray. As for the other remaining things that come include with these turtles, the turtles do come include their alternate head sculpts. Now, maybe for this, what I'll end up doing is let's first remove the sai. That's the most likely thing to break. And maybe what I'll also do, too, is I'll just remove the nunchuck, just because, again, eventually when we'll get to the articulation on the figure, I don't want to have to worry that nunchuck are going to get in the way of things. So let's just go ahead and remove it. And you see how easy it is to remove these. Pop it off the other side, and we'll just put it down here. Okay, so you get two different alternate head sculpts. Well, you get two head sculpts for each of the figures. If you were to look at the larger one first, you get a neutral expression, and then you get this one that has a little bit of a grimace on the side. A precursor, perhaps, of what we would get eventually down the road with the other turtles. I mean, turtles were always really known for having little sneers on the sides. The thing that's neat about these is that all the bandanas have movable, like, little knots on the end. Like, this one rotates. This one's a little tighter of the two. But just to show you on the back of this one, as you can see, it's free to go wherever it needs to go. The coloring isn't quite the same, so you can kind of see they probably would have molded this, I think, in this color of plastic. They probably would have painted this, so the colors don't quite 100% match, but you know what, it's close enough. Of course, you can rotate it back and forth. These aren't necessarily on ball joints, they're more on peg joints, so you're only going to be able to do windshield wiper back and forth. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. If you did want to change out the head, though, it's just a case of... And I actually was surprised how easy it was to remove these. Just pop them off the provided peg, take the new head that you want to use, and just plug it in place. You might, if anything, have a harder time putting the new head in, but removing the heads doesn't seem to be that difficult at all. So you get that one. And I guess really while we are holding this figure, let's get a closer look at him. If you are, again, familiar with the earlier sketches of the TMNT from Eastman and Laird, like you're pretty much familiar, I'm sure, by now, but with the way that they look. Very round, very large, very rotund. The likelihood of these guys actually really being able to move around at a fast pace would be very slim to none. Of course, larger arms on this guy as well. Short legs, but still has sort of, again, like the Carling cards. Boy, I'm having a hard time getting that out. All the calling cards, all the checked off boxes you would expect with a turtle. So he's got like little wristbands. He's got the elbow pads. He's got the knee pads way down below, but much larger feet. Funny though enough, the figures do have pegals on the bottoms of their feet, but yet they don't come included with the display stand. I suppose if you want to use a display stand, but I mean, for the size of their feet, the figures seem to stand fine. I mean, it's just a case of really getting their feet to be flat like this. No real issues where I have had any of the turtles toppling over. As for the figure's articulation, at least on the larger one, and it really will also apply to this guy also as well. The head's going to be on a ball joint, so first of all, it does rotate back and forth. I want to make sure I've got the head all the way on there. Head looks down, the head looks up. But also, you may already be noticing that the neck is also on a ball joint too, so it can rotate all the way around. It can look down, it can look up, and all the things in between. The shoulders come out. Nice to see, really, first of all, that all the joints are really tight in these figures as well. You can move the arms forward and back. The figure has only just a single hinge in the elbow. That same rule applies when we also look at the smaller one as well. So bend at the elbow, a rotation back and forth, and the hands do rotate all the way around. When you're looking at the body here from the side, there is actually no waist swivel. The legs, however, though, will split. And one of the coolest things about the earlier turtles is the fact that they did have tails. Something that was really done away with a little bit later, just for the obvious reasons of, how that would look from the front. The legs, though, move forward and back. There is, though, no bend that I can see in the knee. It doesn't seem to move at all. Not that it necessarily needed it either. I mean, like, if you're looking at the size of this guy, I mean, yes, he has foot articulation, and I guess really that all that matters, because if you're looking at his knee pad, his knee is so far down anyways. Why not just have this be the point that moves anyways? So there's the larger of the two turtles, which is really the turtle that when I think of like the original sketch designs that Eastman and Laird did, it's generally this one here. I'm not as familiar with this one, but I really like the look of him quite a lot. Now, one thing that's different about him is the fact that his mask, as opposed to stopping usually around the nose, it just continues on its merry little way. It's a little bit more of a beak on this actual turtle than the original one. The original one would have just been more of a flatter face. But it has sort of a charm to this one that I really dig quite a lot. The bandana still rotates on the back, so you can spin this around like a whirly bird. It does also have, again, an alternate head sculpt, which I love. Again, you got that sneer on the sides. Very cool, though. And again, just to change out the heads, just pop that off the ball joint. This guy's a little bit easier to change just because he got a little bit smaller of a head. And just pop that back in place. He also has, notably, a much longer neck and a much longer torso. Proportionately, like this guy's a little wider than he is longer. This guy's a little bit longer than he is wider. Shorter arms, though, I mean, we get a little bit more closer to the idea of what a Ninja Turtle now would look like. Still has, though, a wristband. He doesn't really have as much of an elbow pad as he has basically now just another wristband, as you can see right there. Very cool design on the shells. I don't know if I really spent any time to show you guys what the shells look like. There's much larger plates, obviously, on the back of the bigger turtle. Much smaller plates, or certainly a lot more of them. This one has a lot more cool texturing on the back there as well. You can see all these very neat looking spots all over the place. Still got the tail, so the tail hasn't been done away with yet. Has feet, but not as nearly as big as this guy right here. But he still has pegals, of all things, even though, again, these figures don't come included with display stands. So the articulation on this guy will be exactly the same. Head's going to be, again, ball joint neck, hinges on arms. The arms move forward and back. Single hinge, elbow, rotation there, rotation in the hand. And again, when you're looking at it from the side, there is no waist articulation. But that's okay. It doesn't necessarily need it. Ball joints in the legs. You can move them forward and back. This guy, actually, I should say, does have one thing that's different, and you probably can already see for yourself. Instead of having, first of all, a knee pad, this guy had it, this guy doesn't. He actually has a hinge joint in his knee. This guy does, this guy doesn't. So you can actually bend the knee, You can also rotate the leg, and you can also have now the additional articulation with the ankle back and forth this way, and an ankle rocker as well. Love, love, love. Love the look of these guys. And again, like for me, when I go back to my turtle history and my knowledge of it, I was always really more familiar with this design. Because again, like when you see like turtle documentaries, it tends to usually be referencing this image of the turtle, not necessarily this one. And again, like when we look at all the other turtles where we've gotten and come from, this is probably one of the closest things we have to like the OG. It is literally the first turtle. And I think NECA's done a bang-up job on this. I would be very curious and very interested to see if NECA perhaps could do a similar casting of these molds, maybe not necessarily in color, but in black and white instead. Originally being offered at San Diego Comic-Con at NECA's booth 3545, which is fun and good. Obviously, if you live anywhere near the area, it's so easy then to get your legs down there to get your hands on a set for yourself. If you can't and you're unable to, NECA at least made a pre-order available on their site for $69.99, with even adding the caveat of 4 per customer. Even the day that I remember that they posted this on their socials, I went over there within the hour or two with the hopes of grabbing one for myself, and would you believe they had completely sold out. For those that abuse the idea of getting 4 in their shopping cart, would at least know that they could keep one for themselves and sell the other 3 in the aftermarket. The benefit, at least, though, of this set is that it hasn't increased in price that much. In between takes, I just happened to check back over to eBay, and getting a set of the original turtles would probably set you back anywhere now from $105 to $120. Originally thinking that they were going to be well within the $200 price range. That's not the case at all. So if you are looking to get a set for yourself, it's not that much more than what NECA was originally offering it at their site. I did make mention, I think earlier, also talking about I would love to see them release this set in black and white. To some extent they have, and there's sort of hesitation with the way that I said that. They have released a black and white set of these, although the headbands are still red. It's definitely a set I'd be interested to get, and ironically enough, I guess no, not ironically enough, the black and white set's going for a little bit more, but I would love to get my hands on that one at some point. Things I really like about this set is that you get 2 incarnations of the turtles. Even if they had just only released the big and bulkier one, that's the one I'm the most familiar with. But the idea that they also released the smaller, sleeker looking turtle is a really nice touch too. I also think it was smart on NECA's part not to double dip and increase the quantity of the accessories that come included with these turtles, because they could have easily done smaller pairs of katanas, smaller pair of sai, but by making the hands universally gripped, it means that either one of the turtles can wield the exact same weapons. Not only does it keep the quantity count down on the accessories, but it also means it keeps the cost down of getting the set for yourself. Big thank you once again to the folks over at NECA Toys that did provide this sample of the brand new Eastman and Laird, the first turtle. What do you guys think of the set? Let me know down below in the comments section. Have you guys already had the chance to grab one for yourself? And how interested would you be to get a set? Also, again, if you guys are interested and would like to stick around more to this channel, first of all, if you guys did enjoy this video, do it a solid, throw it a like. But you guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. Hit the subscribe, turn on that bell, and of course come back. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.